Like those of Para X, its affiliates, or its sponsors.
Supernatural, metaphysical, paranormal. You know, all those things you've been wondering about? Are you ready to go deeper into the realms of the unknown? I hope you've got your walking shoes on, because life is an adventure, and this is the journey. Come on, let's go. Hello and welcome to the show, everyone. This is the Journey Radio Show, and hey, we're the She-Squatchers. I'm Jen Cruz, your host, and I've got my trusty teammates on the line. I've got Jenna Grover.
Well, hello.
And Tammy Trikel.
Hi, everybody.
We have got a super special guest for you guys tonight. We've got Anita Collier coming to us, and she's got lots to share with us. Welcome to the show, Anita.
Oh, thank you. I'm so excited about being with the She-Squatchers. Woohoo!
Yay! There's all girls in the house tonight. I tell you what. Girl power. Girl power is where it's at. I tell you what. So, will you please tell our listeners a little bit about your background and how you came to be interested in Bigfoot?
Well, I have been suppressing the memory until about 2 years ago of a date I had on Mount Cheahaw, the highest point in Alabama. And on that date, um, the date and I saw a Bigfoot in the down below the mountain. Uh, he tried to push me down on the rock and steal a kiss or whatever, and we kept feeling little stones hit us and pine cones, and we looked around and there was nobody there. And at that time, you had to hike out to the thing. They didn't have handicap accessibility, and so he tried that again when we realized nobody was out there. And bigger pine cones and bigger twigs and a little bit bigger stones kept hitting us or hitting him. I never got hit. And we got off the rock and down on where the cliff was. And there was in the field about, I guess, 50 yards away. And it was a smaller, probably about 5 feet, 6 feet. I'm assuming it was a juvenile now that I think back. But interesting, I was scared to death. He was a journalist, and he said, "Don't tell anybody." Back in the 70s, this was 1979, and back in the 70s, you didn't tell anybody because you were labeled crazy. So, and a couple of years ago, I had promised this guy I wouldn't tell anybody, and he passed away. And I said, I'm going to tell my story. And so I started telling, everybody what I had seen. Um, and I don't know if, and I had some interesting, first conference I went to was Michigan, where you guys were. And the interesting story was maybe this Sasquatch wanted to protect you from your date. So maybe that was the theory, or maybe just wanted us to notice it, But then after it saw us and we saw it, it just turned around slowly and walked into the woods. And I was scared to death, but it doesn't scare me now because I've seen one since, and it does not scare me now. I'm ready to go after what I see. But I saw one in January as well, and this year in a field. I was on an emergency run. I'm a hospice nurse, so I was on an emergency run to a patient's house. And if I had not been, I would have been out in the field looking and chasing. This was a big one. And I didn't get pictures because I was on emergency run in the back roads of the counties where I serve. But it's interesting. I've always been interested in sci-fi and things. I grew up on that. I kind of spoon fed with sci-fi, And so this was just right where I wanted to go, and wanting to pursue this because I've been meeting people in the community of Bigfoot and paranormal, and I love them. They're great. It's a great community to be in. And I have just been so psyched out at the stories people are telling. But I have such a background in that kind of thing anyway, where I've had angel encounters, and my granddad was an old squatcher. When they were kids, they were raised on the mountain, and he said that they would play all day. And I didn't know, I didn't associate the story of the hairy man that he used to tell us with Bigfoot, because back when we were kids, we didn't know what Bigfoot was. But he used to tell us the story of when they would play in the woods all day, and then they would, about dark, they would always get scared of the hairy man who would come out and growl at them and stomp and scare them home. And I have a family legacy of it and did not know it. So I did not realize it until I told my mother about the Michigan conference, and she said, "Oh, well, that's Bigfoot. Don't you remember the stories your granddad used to tell you about hairy man?" And I said, "Oh yeah, I guess so." So and now that really started me thinking I should write all these stories down and make a book out of it. So that's
No,
what we're trying to do.
yes, no, I think that's wonderful. How exciting. I mean, what were you thinking at a young age? I mean, did you kind of feel like you were kind of being protected, or were you just fearful, period?
I really did. I was in my 20s during that time, and I felt like maybe, I wasn't so scared that it just, that I was ready to faint or anything like that. But I did want to go because I wasn't sure exactly what this was, and um, I was ready to go. He was interested because he was a journalist, and I felt kind of, like in my younger days when I was a child, we lived really in the woods. We lived 7 miles out of town, and I felt like something was protecting me because something used to look in my window at night. Didn't want to harm me, and I could feel that, but it was hairy and big, and I was little and did not realize that this was probably a Bigfoot then, but never wanted to harm me because I think always that they've been around to protect us.
Well, you didn't marry this guy, right?
No, I
Okay.
didn't.
Then Bigfoot did his job. He protected you. So, now you said
And he
he
never
was,
got he never got a kiss either. So
oh, he didn't. He worked that hard, and all he got was Bigfoot. I'm sorry, I couldn't help it. I'll be quiet.
There is a question in the chat room. Sherry's wondering, do you think that maybe Bigfoot sightings could run in families?
I do. I think some people are more sensitive to things like that than others, and I think that Bigfoot, whatever age it is, whatever, whether it's male or female or whatever, is is attuned to that, is sensitive to that person. And I think that, like, I think it does because people, I, I don't know exactly how to say it, but I think some people are more sensitive to those things than others. And I think that they draw things to them because of that sensitivity. And I think I've always been more sensitive to that kind of thing. Like I said, I've had angel encounters, and angel encounters. I've always been sensitive to that, and have many times helped someone, turned around, and they disappeared, and it was an angel encounter. Or when I was little, I remember when I was 5 years old, the earliest I remember that, um, I used to say, "Mom, look in the room. There's Jesus in the room," and she'd say, "No, there's just us two." And I'd say, "No, there's Jesus," but it was my guardian angel. And so I think some people are more sensitive to things like that, and I think that's why they see more, they hear more, they experience more.
I would agree with that for sure, for sure. I want to hear more about these angel encounters. I know that
Oh,
you're a hospice nurse, so I mean, you must have some experiences with that as well.
I do. I have been on the way to work and like seen someone trying to get help on the side of the road or something, and you say, "Oh Lord, please help them," and the Lord says, "Oh, but maybe you should help them," So you accept that challenge, uh, and then like I remember one group. This is the most interesting one that I've ever experienced. But when I was 19, um, I had borrowed my dad's little red pickup truck. And I saw a group of about 12 children and a lady walking down the side of the road. And that's when you could pick people up. And you didn't worry about them being a serial killer, but and uh, you could give people help and all. And I said, well, do you need a ride? Well, the children piled in the back of the truck. Got in the front. We talked about things, spiritual matters and things, all the way to, I'll show you where we're living. So we drove around the road, and the place that she said, stop here. And the place that she showed me was boarded up. It was she, when I turned around, there was no one in the parking lot. There was no, there was no group of children. There was no lady. There was nothing there, and the house was still boarded up. And I'm thinking band of angels because it had to be, and there's no other explanation. I think we're put in a situation to say, now, what are you going to do in this situation? What are your actions going to be? And I think, a lot of times we're put in a situation to help someone, and it's a spiritual encounter. And that one was the most interesting one I'd ever had. And I thought, a band of angels, not just an angel, um, because I've heard it said that you can be nice to someone and help someone, and you're entertaining an angel, and you're not aware of that. So how fascinating, you know. But I think that maybe I'm sensitive to that, and that's why it happens to me. It's happened to me several times, but that was probably the most interesting, and never a group of angels before, but that one was. So
Have you ever been physically touched by angels?
um, I don't recall that, but it's very possible. Very possible. And I'm open to that. I'm very open to that. Um, Now, I had said, no, maybe that falls into paranormal category. I'm not sure. I don't consider Bigfoot paranormal. I consider Bigfoot a species and uh, organic, part of the earth. But maybe angel encounters are paranormal. And I know I had gone to Texas Bigfoot conference last October, and I was talking to Dr. Meldrum, and he came in the next day and he said, "Oh, I got to tell you, I had a paranormal. I was paranormaled last night in my bed and breakfast room." And I said, "Oh," and he was telling his story, and I said, "Oh, I wish that would happen to me." Don't wish for things like that if you really don't want them to happen, because the room I was in was also. Uh, they say all of the rooms have paranormal activity in the bed and breakfast there in Jefferson, Texas. And so the next night, I got in bed about a little after 12, and after the conference was over and everything, and I was I was had just fallen asleep probably about an hour and a half, and I felt it's like someone sat on the bed, and I could see that no one was there when it woke me up. I was kind of groggy, but I could see no one was there. It felt like someone sat on the bed and laid down on the bed. And I was looking, how you look kind of out the corner of your eye, and you don't really want to turn your head to look, but I could see because there was a little light in the room. And all of a sudden, this, whatever this was that laid down on the bed, started snoring. And that scared the wine out of me. I was like, oh, and I said, and I got up very quickly, went to the end of the bed, threw a throw pillow over on that side, and it stopped snoring. And then I said, what am I going to do? Here I am in a nightgown. I have nowhere to go. I have no one to call. What am I going to do? Where am I going to go? I don't know what to do. So I said, well, I'll sit in the chair across the room to the bed. And as I sat down in the chair, the wooden table started rattling on the wooden floor. And it kept rattling, probably a minute, minute and a half. It seemed like an eternity, but it's probably a minute and a half rattling on the floor. And I'm just freaking at this point. And I stayed awake the rest of the morning. My ride was going to pick me up to go to the airport at 4. And so I went in that morning when it's time, well, an hour before it's time to get up. And I said, I'm not taking a shower because next thing you know, Norman Bates is coming in, and it's, and I'm going to get killed in the shower or something. And so I rinsed my face and put on just very little makeup. I don't wear a lot anyway. And got ready and slammed everything in the suitcase, pulled it out on the porch of the little area there that has the rooms, and stayed there in 40-degree temperature until he came to pick me up, because I was not going back in the room. But I that's the first time I've ever had anything like that happen. But I thought, now it's kind of exciting to think about it and think back what happened. But I said, I haven't hooked up with anybody at any of these conferences. You know how we are as girls. We talk about things. And I said, even the ghost fell asleep and didn't even want me. So, what else is going to happen?
Oh, was that the Jefferson Hotel?
No, it was the bed and breakfast over close down the street, Captain's Corner or something like that.
Okay.
But I said I would never go back there. But like I said, Dr. Meldrum said he had an experience in one of the bed and breakfast, and Elijah Fisher said she had one also, with one moving her shoes around in the room that night. So, they said every one of them just about is haunted in that town. So, yeah.
Yeah, we hear it's pretty haunted there. We're actually doing like a paranormal event in Jefferson in September, I believe. It's going to be like the She-Squatchers Texas experience, where we're going to do a Bigfoot presentation. It's just going to be us. And then we're going to do like an organic energy blast, where we're going to pump up the energy in the whole place and see how that changes the paranormal activity. You know how people use REM pods to give the spirits more energy. We're going to use our own energy and like ramp up the energy in the whole place and blast it and see how that changes the activity. And so people are going to be able to do investigations with us in this haunted hotel. So it should be fun.
It should be, because it is very active in that city. My one experience at going to Jefferson, and I'm just blown away by it.
I'm excited to check it out. It's going to be a fun time for sure. I got to break out all of my paranormal equipment, which is different than my Bigfoot equipment. We're already making our list of what are we bringing to Texas. So yeah, I hear you have an event coming up soon. What's that about, Anita?
We have a Bigfoot conference. It's the first one ever not the first one in Alabama, but the first one in East Central Alabama. It's the Alabama Bigfoot Conference 2022. There we have good speakers. We have Cliff Barrickman, Ken Gerhard, Charlie Raymond. We have a crew from Texas who are just they keep me in stitches. And they are just a fun bunch. We have Melissa Adair from Atlanta, who's coming over, And we have two local people too who have, one's a researcher, the other one's a researcher and has written a book, Trey Hudson and Paul Hulsey. And so we're just going to have a blast. We're going to have a great time. But the best thing, we're going to have a silent auction. This silent auction is going to be for to raise money for 2 scholarships to science programs for 2 students at Jacksonville State University, which is our local university. And I think that they have a new forensics program there. I'm excited to get some courses in myself, but a new forensics program at Jacksonville State. And we're going to try to help 2 students, even if we don't get a lot this year. I'm hoping we can. But even if we don't, at least we'll have enough maybe to give them some books and stuff, to help them a little bit. But we're asking local artists, we're local crafters, other Bigfoot researchers to send a book, autographed book. In fact, Lyle Blackburn sent a autographed copy of this monster sauce. so that I hope, and I've already had one person tell me, oh, I'm gonna bid on that one. So, but several people are sending books. To Russell Jones is sending a book, autographed book, his latest one, and we're real excited about what we're going to do with that. I'm hoping we'll get lots of money for that, but everything that goes for the silent auction will be given to the students.
I love this idea. That sounds fantastic. I
know in
remember how important
Texas
it was for scholarships when I was going to college. When I got a scholarship, I was like, I got the scholarship. It's a big deal.
we want to try to get some more researchers in the field and having that evidence-based program. Hopefully they go into forensics, but if not, they go into biology or whatever, a science program. I love it. We help these kids out because I know I've got one that's 20 and he's in college, and it's hard to get money, especially if you're like a single parent or something like that. And so hard to get those scholarships.
Definitely, definitely. Well, I that's a good cause right there. I like it. I like it. So if people want to check out your event, where should they go?
Online, you go to BamaBigfootConference.com. BamaBigfootConference.com. When you get there, it will tell you to register, and you can go on, just click register, and it will tell you how much tickets are. I can go over that if you need me to, but it's going to be great. And we'll have on Friday night, the 10th of June, we will have a dinner with the speakers. If you want that, you have to pay a little more for that. That's a special. We'll have 25 people get to eat with the speakers in a private dining room at a local restaurant. And then we'll have the next night, we'll have a catered meal, but it'll go from 8 to 8 on Saturday, and we're going to have a blast. We're going to whoop, and tree knock and whatever else we can do.
That's awesome. I like those VIP dinners too. When we go to those, when we do events too, and it always gives us time to get to know people on a personal level. And you want to do that with everybody, but you just don't usually have that kind of time at an event. Like when you saw us in Michigan, we were busy the whole time.
Were
Yeah.
you were?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
what and two, we're going to have a story corner where people can come and get their story recorded. And some of the local researchers are doing videos and things like that, and have radio programs and podcasts, and they're going to use those stories on those. And I think that'll be exciting for our local people. If you got a story to tell, come tell it. That'll be great. And I want to meet you. And besides, it's my birthday that month, and I'm going to have a big party that day.
Heck yeah. Yes.
That's really the only reason I'm having it, is just so I can have a big party. No, I'm just kidding.
Wouldn't that be a great reason to have it? Wouldn't that be neat? If you did, I'd be so supporting you right now. I'd be like, you go, girl. Have a happy birthday.
Oh, I'm a party all month. What the heck?
Oh, my.
Just a culmination everything. So I would love it, though. I'm gonna have a blast. hey, I've worked hard for this, and I'm going to have a blast.
I love it. I love it. That's a
Good.
good way to have a party. Perfect. Perfect. So Sherry has another question in the chat room. She's saying, I'm having a weird thought. Does Bigfoot sing?
She, and the juveniles like music, I believe. I believe they like to hear people sing out in the woods around the campfire. I wondered if sometime I could just go out somewhere with a small group and just sit and sing. I used to sing, it's been years ago, but and just sit and sing. And I think they like women too. They're fascinated by women. So a woman singing should draw some attention, I believe.
I would agree with that
And
too.
too, with those noises, all the noises, different kinds of noises they make, surely some of that is music to them.
You would think so, that some of it is musical. You would think so. You would think so.
Mhm.
I know that they make a sound that sounds similar to whistling. And
Mhm.
like the natives from my tribe up in Minnesota talk about you should never whistle in the woods at night. And it's because of that.
Oh. Well,
So
I really got fascinated in trying to experience the local lore of Bigfoot because my patients and their caregivers started talking about how they had seen, heard, had evidence of, had experienced whistles and tree knocks and things like that out themselves. And this is, for a lot of these people, this everyday thing for them, or this is a weekly thing, and that's nothing new, and they don't consider it a big deal. It's just normal
normal.
for them. Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't that be neat, girls, if it was just normal everyday occurrence to be encountering Bigfoot?
You know,
Hey, then I'd be going to the beach with Bigfoot and having backyard barbecues with Bigfoot, and we can go swimming and hanging out. I'd do that.
I'd be
Yeah, I
so
could.
there with you guys. I'd so be there. I'll be super driver.
I
Okay.
think some of food out for them too. So
Definitely. Definitely.
So
What do you
speaking,
think?
oh, sorry, go ahead,
Oh,
Jen.
what do you think is the best food to leave out for Bigfoot?
I'm thinking in my lunch bag, there's nowhere to eat out where I go on my route because it's all rural. I carry apples and things like that, fruit. And I think that and granola bars and things like that are really good sources for them. But I think of being in the woods and trying to find food. And so I think of fruit and nuts and things like that. But they might like a little candy bar or something every once in a while. Yeah.
I certainly do. I think chocolate is a very important part of our diet.
That's a necessity.
It is a
Oh,
necessity.
definitely.
If you think different, shut the channel off now. I'm just kidding. Don't shut it
Ah,
off. You can still listen. We'll just agree to disagree.
Was it give me chocolate or give me death? What is something like that?
Oh yes. Oh yes.
I just had a homemade brownie right before the show started.
Oh,
Yum.
I needed it.
Was it a 420 brownie?
It was not. I know that's today's date, though. Tammy's got to get a joke in there.
And it was a good one. I
It's
forgot
good.
about that. Go girl.
Yes. Leave the
I
cookies
know.
out. Did you leave the cookies and milk out for Snoop Dogg last night?
I think I love that joke. I think that needs to be told like internationally. Go
Yeah,
Snoop
yeah.
Dogg. I love you, Snoop Dogg.
It already is.
Oh, it
It
is?
already
People
is.
know
Yeah.
Yeah.
about this joke? Oh, okay, then I'm just way behind.
Jenna's pretty behind on the whole Facebook
Catch that.
browsing. Otherwise, she would have seen it probably 20 times today.
Well, I'm seeing like 6 days ago, things from like 6 days ago. And
Oh, yeah.
so,
Oh, yeah. Well, with that, let's go to our commercial break and we'll be right back with Anita Collier. Stay tuned, everyone. All right, so we are clear for our break. Yay, you're doing good, Anita. I'm hoping when we come back, maybe you could share some of the stories that you hope to put in your next book.
Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah, yeah.
I wonder if we can go to Captain's Corner while we're in Jefferson.
I think it's Captain's something. Castle. Captain's Castle. That's it.
Captain's Castle?
Is that
I'll
the
Google it.
That's
It's-
where I had my
That's not what we're
thing.
saying.
No, we're staying at the Jefferson Hotel.
Yes.
That's the one that's really haunted. I mean, but this one I didn't think was, and it was.
Yeah, the Jefferson's supposed to be super haunted, I guess.
Yeah.
He sent me some videos and there of this movement that was going on in the Jefferson, and I have to put my readers on and watch it more closely because there was like some crazy movement going on in there.
About the hotel?
Yeah, in the hotel, like there was things just moving all over the place
Oh.
in the videos. I'll have to find that and send it to you so you can check
And
it out.
Craig Bullheater's already moved there, so
Yeah, he's the one putting on the event for us. So
good.
yeah.
He was my ride the next morning, and he was like, "So it was paranormal stuff." Thinking, well, it was wild to me.
Awesome.
Put my little glasses on here.
Yeah, he said that place, the whole town is pretty haunted.
What he said.
I wonder why it's so haunted in that town.
I don't know, but I'm so excited to go. Can't believe I haven't been there.
For sure.
I haven't even been to Texas yet. Ever.
It's
Ever.
flat.
Welcome back to the show, everyone. Hey, this is the Journey Radio Show, and we're the She-Squatchers. Won't you check us out online at she-squatchers.com, and there you can see what's going on our website, which isn't usually updated really frequently, but we're more up to date on our YouTube channel. So please subscribe to us there and help us win our subscribers race on the YouTube. Come out and check us out on Facebook and Instagram and follow our pages there for the most up to date what's going on with us. And hey, come see us. We're going to be in North Carolina at the WNC Bigfoot Festival, May 13th and 14th. In Marion, North Carolina. We hear there's going to be 20 to 40,000 people there. And we will be speaking for the whole lot of them. Oh my goodness. I think that's our biggest crowd yet. So it's going to be exciting. Come hang out with us there in Marion, North Carolina, May 13th and 14th. The following month, we will be in Washington State at the Medline Falls Bigfoot Festival, and we are excited for the getting back to Washington State. So come check us out there. I know there's going to be like I think there's 3 different VIP dinners that you could come hang out with us at. So come sign up for that. Come have dinner, hang out, visit with us, spend some quality time, and then check out the festival as well. So let's get back to the show. We've got Anita Collier coming to us from Alabama. She's got her own conference coming up, the Bama Bigfoot Conference. So check that out online as well. All right, Anita, I'm hoping that you have some stories to share with us that might be coming up from your new book that you're putting together.
I have lots of stories, and the great thing is that they're all through my family, and I get to hear them handed down, and then it starts happening to me, and I love that even more because that's firsthand. I know when I was in high school, one story I'm going to use. I was in high school, and this is not as fun type story, but I was about 16, maybe 17, and we had to do a report on one of the subjects on the board, and I picked palmistry, which is palm reading, and I had never known anything about that, and I knew where a good source was. I had a book that one of my grandmothers had, and it had a whole section on that in the back. And I said, well, I'll look at that. And I started looking at and trying to learn how to do that and all, and got a good sensitivity for it. And I've always been raised on a faith-based spirituality, and never really thought that anything like that was anything for me. But and read did that, and then I started thinking, and the kids at school would pay me a quarter to read their palm. It was kind of cool, that was even the coolest part. You get a little money to make a little business out of it. But then I started thinking, well, I don't like that person. I think I'll try to cast a spell. Start delving into that, or just kind of digging into that and delving into that. And then one night I was in my room. Everything was dark. Everyone was in bed, and I heard this noise in the dining room, and it was dark in there. Everybody was asleep. And when I got up and went out into the dining room, I saw a green light form, like a figure, dancing in the dining room. And and it said, "I got you now. I got you now." And of course, I was like, I didn't know what to do. And so I ran in my room. You know how you get in there and you hide in your room, but now I think of how that had to have been a demon, had to have been demonic. And so I stopped what I was doing, in the way of all this delving into these things. And I said, I'm not going to do that again. And this went away, but that was the only time I ever saw that. But that's going in the book, because that was one of the only times I guess I've ever seen anything like that. If a light form, and green misty light form, in the shape of a person. And that was something that, and to this day, it kind of, it bothers you. You know how something bother you in your spirit? Well, that does. And so I kind of stay away from a lot of that because of that. And other people don't, and that's fine. And I don't disagree with what they're doing. Everybody to their own thing, but I stay away from it because it makes me uncomfortable. But that's one of the stories I want to put in there. And I have other stories too, about, um, I know when my son would play in his room after, I lost my husband to cancer in 2005, and he was only 4 when we lost, my son was only 4. And so he would sit in his room, and he would just like play and talk to somebody. And you know how kids will do when they're that age. And I would say, "Honey, who you talking to?" And he would say, "Uncle John," which was my brother he had never met. And he had always, he'd never seen a picture of him or anything. And when he said that, I said, "Well, no, there's nobody in here, baby." And Uncle John's sitting here playing with me and talking with me. And so later on, he pointed out Uncle John on a picture, and had never seen Uncle John. And I said, maybe so, you know, um, maybe that's who he was talking with, Uncle John's spirit. One of the most interesting stories I really want to put in there is my papa, or my granddad, was one of the most wonderful people in the world, and he was kind of a hero to me. He's and just a loving, caring person that would help anybody. Well, he was in the hospital. My mother and I were in the room, and we went down to get a sandwich to bring it back to the room. And he, when we got back, he was not. He was a couple of weeks from, about a couple of weeks from passing away, but he said, "Marie," which is my mom's name, and said, "Marie, my my old friend Luther came through just a while ago and talked to him, and we had a good old conversation about things we used to do." Well, he used to have this boyhood friend named Luther, who they did everything together. It's, how your best friend growing up, and you've had them ever since. And about 30 minutes later, within about 30 minutes, his Luther's daughters called and said, "We wanted to check on Mr. Fred. We knew he was in the hospital and wanted to check on him and see how he's doing." And by the way, Dad just passed away just a few minutes ago, about 20, 30 minutes ago. and we wanted to let y'all know. And Mr. Luther's spirit passed through and talked to my granddad. There's
Wow.
no other explanation. I thought, I'm sorry, it's a very emotional story. And I thought, what a beautiful story that my granddad added to my life. Is that beautiful spirit came through and had a conversation with him as he went on to where he was going.
They went off together.
Hmm. And it
Yeah.
wasn't long after that, that granddad died. So, um, what a beautiful time. He said, I'll see you soon. Is one of the words that my granddad said. He told him, he said, I'll see you soon. And it wasn't too long after that, about 2 weeks.
Hmm.
So what a beautiful story. And people say, well, that's a sad story. No, it's not. It's a beautiful story of how spirits move.
I believe in that. I had that happen to me during my life as a kid. I would just blurt out words that I didn't think of before they came out. It was like, Great Aunt Gladys just died. And then I'd go, oh, and I'd look at the clock and it was 11:30 in the morning. And then a few hours later, my grandma called to tell me that Great Aunt Gladys died today. And I said, what time? And she
Oh,
said,
wow.
what? And I said, what time? She goes, I don't know, about 11:30. Yep, that's right. I said, yep, that's
And
right.
that's that sensitivity that a lot of people have
Yeah.
to the moving of time and the moving of spirits.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's it. Well, I believe definitely that children are more susceptible to that, and whether or not they stay open to that or not is anyone's guess. But some of us keep open to that more than other people do. So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I think we get to be we as we get to be more mature and older, I think we need to keep that childlike quality in our life, because and be open to those things, because even if you don't believe in like spirits moving around or paranormal activity or Bigfoot, or dog man or whatever, at least be open minded about it, because I don't know everything there is to know in the world about things like that. And I want to learn more. I want to be open minded about it anyway. But just keep that childlike quality, that curiosity.
That we don't know everything already, right? We don't already have all the answers. To
Mm-mm.
be able to be curious and keep wondering what's around the corner, what's around that bend, what's over that hill. We got to go find out. Yeah. I used to get in trouble where I'd see a pathway in the woods as we drove by, and I'd have to pull over and run down that path really fast to see where it went because I just couldn't take not knowing where does that go. I even did that. Oh my gosh. I had such a problem with that. I was alone visiting my grandma's grave at this large cemetery in Thief River Falls, Minnesota, and all of a sudden I see a path that goes off into the woods from the side, and I was like, "Ooh!" And I went running down that path, and I was pretty far in the woods, and I started hearing yips and yips all around me, and I'm like, "No, I probably shouldn't be back here. I better get back to the open area." And I just backed away, backed away. I'm like, "I am not alone back here. I am not alone." So, yeah.
Well, interesting thing is, back, like I said, I lost my husband to cancer in 2005, and I've gone through a lot of healing since then. But about 6 months before we found out he even had cancer, I had this recurring dream every night for a month that my husband had died from a terminal illness. People would just, the only part of the dream was people would come up and say, well, are you married? Do you have a husband? And I would say, well, he died from a terminal illness. And that was the same dream every night for a month. And then about 6 months later, we find out he has cancer, stage 4 cancer. So I mean, and then 3 months later we know that he passed. Um but just a premonition, a warning maybe, that get ready, that something's about to happen. But premonition may be the word for it.
A precognitive dream.
Mm.
Yeah. Do you think that helped prepare you for what was to come when you found out that he did have cancer? Did you feel more prepared?
I think so, because I kind of, you know, we we met the first day of nursing school, and we were both in our 30s. So I mean, that was the first time I'd ever gotten married, only time, and so it was like, Lord, what are you doing? You're taking away my man that I finally got. So, why are you doing this? And so I wasn't quite sure, if that really was preparing me or what, because it kind of, it did and it didn't. You're never really prepared fully for something like that, but maybe it was a little bit of preparation. It helped a little bit, but I know, later I got into the hospice profession because maybe I could use that as closure to help someone else, to help me find closure and to help someone else through what I had been through. So um, it all kind of comes together in the plan for our life. And that's I'm getting all, what is it, um, philosophical here, but the plan for our life, I think it all comes together. And I think back on the dream and I think, well, what a strange thing to happen for a whole month. That was the only dream I had, and it's every night. So how unusual. But may have prepared me a little. I guess
I
you start looking at, and saying, well, oh, I wonder if he's, sick or whatever. So, mm,
Yeah. Yeah. It's a sad thing when you lose somebody like that. No matter how prepared you think you might be or not be, or it's a sad thing.
mm.
Yeah. Yeah.
But there are forces that help us to rest. I know after that, I could hear him call me in the night. I'd wake up and go in. I couldn't sleep in the same bed for a while, but after he died, I could hear his voices, and I would say, what you need, honey? Or in the house or whatever. And I think a lot of people tell me, in hospice, when I talk to a widow or somebody after the fact for a few months later, and I say, well, how are you doing? I just wanted to call and check on you. And they would say, well, it's like I hear him talk to me. I hear him call me. And I think you really do, hear that voice. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. I think it's a beautiful thing.
So, while you're working with hospice, have you experienced some paranormal activity or some witnessed something in those
Not
processes?
really. Not really. Well, not really, not really. And I'm surprised. I have I probably have, and it's probably not, foremost in my mind, and I'm not thinking of it right now. But as I think of things, I jot the notes down in my spiral bound notebook. That way I can use them later. And I guess I try to um, keep those things pretty private because of the out of respect for the patients and caregivers. But I don't recall anything right now about that. So I'm
Gotcha.
sure
Gotcha.
people have that. I've heard nurses say they have. You know,
Oh, I've heard nurses say that too, that's happened. Um, and I know that sometimes I've heard stories about people talking to somebody that don't know, only they can see, and how they just light up when they see this person, and it just seems like such a good experience for them to be reunited with whomever they're seeing, you know, never came to them.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, it's an interesting thing, that's for sure. That's for sure. So, do you think this extrasensory awareness or this openness helps you to be more open to seeing Bigfoot?
I think so. I think that a Bigfoot can sense you, and I think they sense whether you can or you're going to harm them, or whether you're what a friendly person, or whether you're there to harm them or to help them or just to be there. And that's what I go on. If I can just be quiet and be there, that's the thing. And I think they'll sense that, I'm not going to harm them. I think it does. I think it makes me more open to that sighting. And I think they pick. I don't know if it's a sonar or what they call radar sonar or anything like that, but I think they can sense that.
I think so too. Well, I think all animals have a sense of what your intentions are.
I
That
know we do. We do.
Yeah.
As people.
I think a lot of people don't understand that when they get the creeps about somebody, that's you sensing something about that person. It's your
Oh,
gut instinct. You're actually sensing something about them.
it is. I when I was 16, the neighbor found a dead woman in our barn at our house. Yes, ma'am. I saw that look on your face, and I'm thinking, and I was probably 16, and this guy that killed this woman came by our house several times, and he talked to me, and he talked to my dad and asked, well, how's the investigation going for this dead woman they found out there in your barn? And I'm thinking, all this time he could have kidnapped me, because I was in the yard, and I would say, well, I don't know what they found anybody or anything yet, and I was just 16. He could have kidnapped me, and I could have been the next one. And I'm thinking, oh, how title for my one chapter in my book, how I narrowly escaped a serial killer, So, oh wow! And the guy finally, they caught him, and they sent him to the the place where they keep the criminally insane, and he died there. But I mean, what a close encounter, we never knew until we saw it. And I said, he came by and asked about that. His picture's in the paper. He came by and asked about that, and so, and Dad said, I remember talking to him in the yard. And I said, I do too.
Oh
So,
my goodness. Did it turn out that he had done this before, or was it an isolated incident? Or
no, he had done it before. He had raped and killed a woman, and he had raped and killed this one. It was winter. So it didn't decay. And our neighbor was looking for old timber, and he went to a shed out behind our barn, and he said, well, someone has dumped an animal down there. And he got his son and came back, he's an elderly gentleman, and came back, and his son came up in a little bit and said, there's a dead woman in your barn. We need to call the sheriff. So we had to go through all that. And of course, there were a lot of onlookers, a lot of curious passerbys, and they would stop and take pictures of our barn and things. It wasn't even the right barn, but still, I mean, interesting encounter, interesting event that I really don't want to be that close to that again, that kind of thing again, And so, but
so you are very, very, very lucky.
yeah, I am, and that just occurred to me the other day when I realized I hadn't thought about that story in years, and then I start trying to think of everything in my life. I go from childhood and then start thinking up through teenage years and adult years, and saying, now, what have I gone through in my life? And you start thinking about all that. And then I said, oh, that guy, I think his last name was Kissinger. And I don't even remember. I couldn't even find the story in the local paper. I was trying to research it and find it. And it was in like 75, 74, something like that. And I said, I could have been dead. I could have been the kidnapped one. the next one, but he had killed another lady too, and this one, and um, so I mean, he was what? It only takes two to be a serial killer,
Is that how many it takes?
I suppose. Well, I mean, one is not a serial killer if you have two, you know.
I
You've
assumed
killed
it
two.
was more if you've killed more than one.
Well,
But
they have. He may have killed more. He had a habit of doing it, so
Well,
Maybe that's
thank
the only ones they found out about.
yeah.
right, right.
Well, thank goodness that you're safe and everything. But I
Yeah,
can't believe how
yeah.
close we are to the end of the show already.
Yes, I want to give you time to tell people how they can find you online and contact you and more about your event.
Okay. It's Bama Bigfoot Conference.com, and my information is on the website there, and the information about the conference is on the website. And hey, we're already planning next year. We're going to make this an annual event. Going to be an annual party. So it's going to be a blast, and you will not be disappointed if you come this year to the conference. It's our first one, so you know we're going to try to make it a blast. And bring your money for the auction, because we want you to help send these students to school, and we want you to come and listen to these great speakers. And I want to meet you. I want to personally meet you. That's the thing. I want to personally meet you. Come up to me personally, and I want to meet you. And I'll even give you a Southern hug.
Oh, that's so awesome. Southern hugs are wonderful, I have to
Yeah.
say. So I have to ask another question. Are you going to be having food and different
Yeah.
things there for people?
The Friday night before is the special dinner in a private dining room with 25 people get to eat with the speakers. That's extra, but then that evening of the next day, the Saturday, we'll have a catered dinner. You can eat at the round table. You have to pay a little extra for that, but still it's worth it, because you can eat it. Each speaker will be at a round table, and you can eat with them. And then after that, we're having town hall, and you can ask questions and quickly share your story. And hey, we just might find a big place to party afterward and go for it.
Oh, you're going to have people following you in a line. Tammy's
Dang.
already planning it. No,
Dang,
she's
that
like,
sounds like fun. Too bad we don't get to come.
I know it.
Maybe next we can sign up some She-Squatchers.
Hey, we can have
Hey,
a
would
big party then.
you come take Alabama
I'll bring the
bus tour?
party.
She will.
Is it going to be June or July?
It's June. It'll always be June, because, like I said, I did it because it's my birthday month, and that's why I picked June.
Got it. Got
But
it.
it's June the 10th and 11th, and we're just happy to have you down. Hey, y'all come down south. We'll just treat you good.
I would love that.
Oh,
I've
yeah.
only been to Alabama briefly one time. So I have to figure out how to spend more time in Alabama and go look for those Alabama Bigfoots.
Oh, they are there. They are all over.
I know they are. I know they are. Well, that music says we're at the end of the show. We want to thank Anita for joining us tonight, and everybody go check out her website at BigBamaBigfootConference.com. And hey, we'll see you here next week. Stay tuned, everybody. We'll see you then, and have a great week. Good night.
Bye.